Hey, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Hey, if you do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button below the page here, I'd appreciate that. It'd help with the algorithm and all that fun stuff. So today we're going to talk about a new 4K UHD release from Shout Studios, also known as Scream Factory. Now this film, this is its first time released to physical media. It originally had a short festival run before being released directly to Netflix in 2016. Right now, you can't watch it on streaming anywhere, as far as I know, unless you look at maybe a bootleg copy of it on YouTube or something. But the movie we're talking about is Hush from 2016. This is directed by Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan has since made a big name for himself in the horror movie genre. He directed Dr. Sleep. This is based on the Stephen King novel, and it's a sequel to The Shining. Mike Flanagan's also directed a lot of other made-for-Netflix miniseries, including first was The Haunting of Hill House, and then followed by The Haunting of Bly Manor. I said Blair, but it's Bly. But he also directed several other ones, including one called Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass is actually featured in Hush. Now, this is the alternate slipcover to Hush, which you can get from the Scream Factory site. Now, if you can order it in a bundle that includes this poster and this poster behind me. Now, this is the alternate poster. Since it never had a physical release, this is I guess its first. This is the first time I've seen this poster myself, because since it didn't previously have a physical release, it just had a Netflix release, and it just had a thumbnail picture or something like that, which didn't look like this. But I like both of them. I actually like this one more than this. I do like the simplicity of this one. So within this film, the character played by Kate Siegel, who's the main character, she's an author, and she's written a story called Midnight Mass. Mike Flanagan later did a miniseries of the same name, which also stars Kate Siegel, who is his wife. I guess he met her while making this movie, and they later were married. And she's been in most of his projects ever since, so they make a pretty good team, it seems like. In this movie, she plays a deaf-mute character. She was from having meningitis when she was younger, and then a botched surgery later on made it so she wasn't able to talk. And in the film, this is a very simple story with this film. And the first time I saw it on Netflix, I don't think I watched the whole thing. I did like the suspense. I could tell it was very well crafted, but something about it, I maybe watched part of it, and something. I ended up cutting it off, like I often do with streaming things, and then never returning back to watch the rest of it. But this is really the first time watching it all the way through for me, and it's a very solid film, and but it is a very simple story. But it did elevate Mike Flanagan to a different level from just making this movie, and it's really well done. But it is simple. So basically, she's a deaf mute author staying in a cabin. She has a friend nearby, and her friend comes over and hangs out with her for a little bit. But it's kind of a secluded cabin, other than like her neighbor who lives fairly close. But what happens is her neighbor leaves, and then later on she's back on the computer, and then the neighbor shows up at the door trying to get her attention. Someone's been chasing her, and then they shoot her, the neighbor, with a bow and arrow in the back, and then kill her outside the door. And Kate Siegel's character can't hear it, so she doesn't notice it's happening. And then the killer is a little puzzled that she can't hear it, and then he eventually figures out she's deaf-mute. So he comes in and he takes pictures of Kate Siegel's character, Maddie's her name, and then he sends her the pictures he took inside the house through her friend's phone. She finally starts to figure out that she's being stalked by a psychopath, and it kind of becomes kind of a cat and mouse game through the rest of the film. Now, I'm going to point out a few similar films that reminded me of this movie. First off, You're Next, which is really about a group of people in a situation. Well, it's really just a crossbow part, because in both films the killers shoot at the people with a crossbow, and it seems to be fairly effective and pretty gruesome. But here also reminds me of Mute Witness, which is a similar situation where in this situation she's a mute character, and she witnesses a crime, and she's stalked similarly, just not as long of a time as in this film, because this film, pretty much the whole movie is about her being stalked and it works though. It is a short movie. It's only like an hour and 22 minutes, and it has a lot of tension in it and a lot of build up, and it's fairly masterfully crafted. But at the same time, it is just a simple type of story, and it doesn't have any huge. It doesn't have any huge twist or anything too crazy, and really the killer's motivations aren't really defined, other than the fact that he's just there to kill people. He does have, as you can see on the poster, it's got these, it says Hush, and it looks like maybe it might be Hush 5, but it's not really, it's not called Hush 5. That really, he's making notches in the side of the crossbow of everybody he's able to kill with it. So that's really the only indication of the killer's motivations. He seemed like maybe he was a hunter or somebody who got a crossbow and a knife and just decided to go out and start killing people. And that seems to be his whole thing, as far as I can tell. But that makes it fairly scary, because it's just, this guy's not after anything but just there to just kill people. Now that in itself is terrifying, and it's a strong motivation. And so when the killer sneaks inside and he takes her pictures, he also steals her cell phone, so she's unable to call the cops. He is taking a very big chance at this point that she might have another way of getting to the help from the outside. He cuts the power pretty soon after that, and she's not able to use the computer anymore. But he doesn't consider her as a threat. He wants to make it a little harder for him to be able to kill her, just so it's more of a sport. But he soon discovers he made a mistake by doing all that, and he should have just went ahead and killed her and gotten it over with, because she ends up to be a formidable foe, despite being deaf-mute, which, like Mute Witness, it doesn't matter that much that she's, other than calling the title Hush, but it doesn't matter that much that she can't speak or hear. But because it actually is, it for the most part, it's going to make it harder for her to be able to hear where he's at, or something. If anything, it definitely doesn't help her, other than maybe she's able to be more quiet in some situations. But it doesn't. I mean, really, if this movie would be very similar if she was able to talk, because she wouldn't be talking throughout the whole movie for the most part, because there would be no reason for her to. She's just trying to be quiet. So I don't know. It doesn't really add that much to it that she can't talk. It makes it for an interesting acting experience. Or she is able to. Now, Kate Segal is able to talk a little bit in the script, because she has. There's one scene where when she talks to herself, which it works, but that's the only time she talks during the film, and she's able to give an audible performance, so people know that she can really speak. So let's take a look at this release. Now, this is the slipcover, and here is the inside of it. Now, this is pretty heavy filling for a regular disc, and that's because it has several discs in here. It's a 4-disc set, and so that's because here's a 4K release of the movie, and here's a 4K release of what they call the Shush Cut, and that's because in this version of it, they've made it black and white, which they've done on a few other releases of other films recently. A good example of that, which worked really well in this case, was The Mist. And I watched The Mist in black and white. I thought it was pretty strong, even though some of the colors in the original one were pretty cool, where there's insects and stuff. And it kind of works here. I watched some pieces of it. I don't know if it really helps it be in black and white or hurts it, but maybe it makes it feel like an older type of film. But it's pretty cool seeing it in black and white, really. And here's a Blu-ray disc here that has both cuts on the Blu-ray, and then on this last disc is a Blu-ray of just the special features. So this is a pretty solid release here, especially even just this by itself, it's a solid release with 4 discs in it, and that black and white version. It's a cool idea. This one here's the alternate slipcover, and in the inside of it, this is an unrelated film, Man's Best Friend, which I might eventually do a review on. It didn't come with this. I just wanted to show you that's what I had this stuff with. I do like the alternate slipcover, but now I've got 2 of them, 2 slipcovers, but that happens when you buy the pack and you get the posters and all that. Now, I'm going ahead and rate the film. I'm going to give the film, I'm going to give it a 3.5-star rating. I think it's a very strong first film for Mike Flanagan. It is damn well done. It is very simple, but it's not one that I think if he hadn't continued to make other stuff, it probably wouldn't be remembered as much at this point. But it is a damn solid film in general. So I'm going to do that 3.5. I'm going to give Shout Factory a 4 for this presentation. I'm going to read a little bit about it. So this is a 2024 4K restoration, supervised and approved by the director, and it looks really good as far as the quality of it here. It is a newer movie, and it is really a suspenseful movie, and that's one thing it is built on suspense within a very simple type of story. Unlike when in Mute Witness, they actually break it up, where they're having him chase her for a while, but then she gets away, and then there's some interactions with the cops and stuff before coming back to like a similar chase situation. But here it's just a continuous chase once it starts, a continuous siege upon her cabin house. But it's pretty impressive. They got a whole disc for the special features, and there's a fairly substantial amount. I haven't watched any of them at this point, but I do like the way Mike Flanagan, and most of the actors who appear in this film are in his other stuff as well. I like the way he does that. I guess it used to kind of be frowned upon, but I've always really enjoyed like when directors use the same actors, and I like to see what they do with their next roles, and what and so forth. They see something in these people, and they enjoy working with them, and then they're able to give them a part in the next film that matches kind of maybe their personality, or even the opposite of what they did in the previous film. And it's just cool seeing like an actor's range, especially under the same director. I really enjoy that myself. Some people might think it sucks, but I really appreciate it. So let me know what you think about this new Shout Factory 4K UHD release of Hush. And if you haven't done so already, if you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.